There are clearly good movies and clearly bad movies. But sometimes we get so confused that we... Wait, what are we doing? This is good, bad, good.
Just do that.
How'd you find us?
There may be many reasons not to kill you, but among them is not that you'll be missed by NASA. I found the address in your coat. Here, between the address of a topless bar and the picture of what looks like a man's penis.
That's a duck, not a dick.
What?
Exactly.
I almost interrupted, but I felt like that was part of the bit.
It was part of the bit,
Yeah.
but no, I said what? Because what were you confused about? Oh, her amnesia.
Oh, boy.
Yep. One of those days.
Or maybe I have amnesia.
If you couldn't tell by the movie clips or by you probably won't. This week we did the last kiss goodbye.
The long kiss goodnight.
Oh,
The long
jeez.
kiss goodnight.
She even says it. Our heroine even
She
says
does?
she? Yeah, in the beginning. She doesn't say. Here, I wrote it down.
I
'cause
don't
was
Anyway,
like,
we are
"Ooh,
doing 1996, The Long Kiss Goodnight this week.
She's gone. I've kissed her goodnight is the line that she says when she's talking about Charlie. When Samantha is talking about Charlie. Okay, continue.
My name is Travis Orozco, and I'm a director and producer. With me, as always, is...
My name is Brian Ossip. I'm a video editor and just a really cool guy.
And...
I'm Kylene Amai. I'm an actor and a writer.
And this week is a Kai pick. Kai picked this movie because she said she loves it and stands by that pick. Or do you stand by that pick? I'm actually curious about this episode because we did not talk at all. Like, we usually say one bit here and there, like, oh my gosh, Brian, this pick is so bad. Or like, oh my gosh, I apologize for...
pre-recording the episode. We
I have
text
no
each
idea
other
how
or
we feel
something.
about this movie.
I love this movie. Period.
Cool. Okay.
Still.
I'm sure Brian loved it too. Before we jump... What?
I'm not going
Go.
to say anything.
Brian.
Well, it'll be a surprise. We'll get into it.
I'm sure Brian loved it too. He's like about to say exactly how he feels about it. You just cut him off.
It's okay.
Before we jump into verdicts, though, let's give the listeners a plot synopsis. Hey, Google, what's the plot synopsis for The Long Kiss Goodnight?
Here's the synopsis of The Long Kiss Goodnight. Schoolteacher and single mother Samantha Kane, Gina Davis, lives an average suburban life until she begins having strange memories of unexplained violence and discovers that she has physical skills that she never imagined. Hiring private detective Mitch Hennessy, Samuel L. Jackson, to probe into her past, Samantha discovers that she's a well-trained government assassin who went missing after suffering a bout of amnesia and that her former handlers won her back in their employ.
Okay.
All right.
That told me more than I got from the movie. I will say that.
There was one tidbit in there that clarified something for me.
Yeah.
I will preface by saying I've seen this movie probably 80 times in my life, so I was
I'm
not
sorry.
confused by anything.
I'm
Don't
so
be
sorry.
sorry. I love this movie.
I just feel as this podcast goes on, I'm just more and more sad for
We're
you.
just gonna start doing
But-
good
Yeah.
From
movies.
watching Waterworld once a year to watching Roadhouse several times a year.
It's look,
So
Roadhouse
watching this
is,
80
Roadhouse
times.
is I only watch Roadhouse because it's constantly on at my mom's
Okay,
house.
I'm
Otherwise,
just
I
saying.
wouldn't.
I'm so sorry.
They're the gems from the past, okay? What can I say? What's the word when you look back in your past fondly? I'm not romantic. I'm
Nostalgic?
Yeah, nostalgic.
Thank
That's
you.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's jump into the verdicts because we haven't even discussed that yet.
Good, bad.
Okay, Brian.
Ditto.
I'm going to say it's a bad good.
What?
Whoa.
Yeah. I will say, I will give you
Okay.
credit, though, for your pick, Kai. I do think this film is, like, the perfect film for this podcast of, like, it's just
Great.
either or. Either or, depending on who's watching it.
Yeah, actually, yeah. I would say so. I mean, it's very much a good bad for me, but I definitely can see how it could be a bad good.
So we will be dissecting the film by three. Okay, we will be. What?
I said zoinks. I felt like you had to end it with that. How are you today, Travis? We didn't check in. You doing
I'm good.
all right?
I'm stressed. It's hot in here, right?
No.
Oh, it's really hot in here. I
I'm
think it's because
so
I
good.
set everything up. It's because I set everything up. So like 45 minutes before we actually start, I'm like running
Moving
around to
things
do all
around.
this.
Mm.
And I never stop and tell myself like, I know it's 45 minutes till we have time, but really I have an hour because Kai
Is
will be
gonna
here.
be 15
True.
minutes late.
Sometimes
But
3
like
hours.
in my mind, I'm just like, I have to be set up. I have to be set up. How are you doing, Kai?
Yeah, I'm good.
How are you doing, Brian?
You know what? I'm doing all right. Still a little bit under the weather, but on the up and up. I'm getting better. And there's a lot of good things happening in the football world for me right now that will not make any sense when this episode airs, but it does
Yeah,
for me
there's-
today.
Yeah. I
By
feel
the
that.
time this episode airs,
The Eagles will have won the
the
Super
Eagles
Bowl.
could have. Yeah. I was gonna say could because I did not want to jinx
No.
it for you, but
I'm putting it out into the universe. Good things will happen.
There
okay.
you go.
Okay. Remember, it is the Eagles.
Either that or the next time we record, I will be just sobbing uncontrollably.
For context, right now, they just beat the Giants. Who'd they just play this last
Yes.
weekend?
The New York Football Giants.
Yeah, and the worst team in the league, the Cowboys, just lost. So, that was great.
I could talk for an hour on that alone.
But Kai can't, so we're gonna talk about the movie instead. We're gonna be talking about 3 different categories for this movie, and the first up is going to be the plot, script, all that stuff, narrative structure of the film. I wanted to start this off by saying who the writer was. This was written by Shane Black, which is partially why I think this is a bad good movie because he has written such great
You
films.
wrote The Nice Guys?
He directed The Nice Guys,
Which was
Oh,
not a
shit.
great
I didn't know
movie.
that.
which I think could be on this podcast as well.
I actually never saw
In
it.
terms of in terms of cast and expectations and like what ended up what the
You
final
wrote The
product
Last
was.
Action Hero?
I got excited to see
Yeah.
that movie.
That's a
and then
great
not.
movie.
I think we all got excited for that like 70s style Ryan Gosling and Russell
100%.
Crowe. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you
then
guys
it
just ignored me and kept talking.
I
I
listened
said,
to you,
yeah,
but
I
I was
said
in
The
the
Last
middle of
Action,
speaking when
yes,
you
yes.
actually jumped into it, but it's fine. Wait,
He wrote
sorry,
the Lethal
I
Weapon
keep thinking
movies?
Ian Black. What did you say the writer's name is?
Shane
Sorry,
Black.
Shane Black. Because now I want to look it up.
It's
He
actually
also-
it's Michael Ian Black, not just Ian Black, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Shush.
We strive for
Um,
accuracy.
Shush.
I also want to say that I was very excited to see this movie. And I will say that I was excited to see this movie because I thought it was the 1997 movie Kiss the Girls.
Is that the one with Morgan Freeman?
Yeah, and Ashton
That one
Kutcher.
I have seen. That's based
I
off.
don't know that movie.
You don't know that movie?
No.
It's based on,
off the series
John-
of books.
James Peterson, right?
Kiss the Girls? Is that what you
Patterson.
said?
James Patterson.
James Patterson.
Yeah.
Peterson.
Yeah, I forget the
Uh,
character's name, but like Tyler Perry played him in one movie. Like there's been a few different people that have played the character. I just can't remember what his name is. I've read all of those books though. I love the books.
Oh. I didn't know that it was Alex Cross.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's Kiss the Girls is an Alex Cross.
Oh,
Story.
interesting. Because I remember Along Came a Spider was also done as adaptation.
Yeah, there've been a few.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
there's been like
Yeah.
30 books in the Alex Cross series. So
It's a neo-noir. Oh,
So-
okay. I remember this poster for Kiss the Girls, but I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever seen this movie.
So I remember watching the movie when I was little, just like you, Brian, and loving the movie. Like it's very. So I feel like these, not to continue on the like from
Kiss the
last week we did
Girls?
Roadhouse, but I feel like Kiss the Girls and like the Long Kiss Goodnight. Maybe not the Long Kiss Goodnight, but I feel like it's very your parental, like your parents watched these movies, and that's
Oh, my
possibly
mom
why we were
watched
exposed
The
to
Long
it.
Kiss Goodnight,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is why I was exposed to it.
I was about to say it's like a mom movie as well.
It's 100% a mom movie.
I just didn't want to make that full leap.
That's like full on.
Because there is a
mom
lot
movie.
of like action, a lot of bad action, but there's a lot of action in it.
So you're making the assumption that because there's a lot of action, then moms wouldn't want to watch it.
I just didn't know this movie until watching it and realizing that it was not the movie that I was anticipating.
That's real sexist, bro. My mom happens to very much enjoy action movies.
I love action movies, but wait, I have a question. So do you think that informed your judgment of the movie? Were you able to like put that aside and be like, okay, shake it out of my head. I'm not watching what I thought I was watching.
I found out within, a scene or two of how campy and ridiculous this movie was that I was like, oh, this isn't Kiss the Girls.
You're now talking about The Long Kiss Goodnight.
Yeah. So I'm like, okay, this is not, because
No, it's
Kiss the Girls is about a serial killer, and it's like a very different vibe from the start. So I'm like, oh, this is not the movie.
Well, if you had realized that Guillermo Navarro was the director of it, who also directed Deep Blue Sea, which we did earlier this season
shit.
on this podcast, then you might understand that there might be a little bit of camp. Although,
no, this movie
is
was directed by
Rennie
Rennie Harlin,
Harlin.
who directed Deep Blue Sea.
oh, sorry, what did I say?
I don't know. You said Guillermo
I'm sorry.
Harlin?
Yeah, I don't know.
No, Guillermo Navarro was the DP. That's why I said that.
Okay.
Sorry, Rennie Harlin, who actually was married to Gina Davis during the time of this movie.
I
They were
read
married
that.
for like
Who
6
was
years. Rennie Harlin.
the DP?
No, Rennie Harlin, the director.
The
Who
director.
also directed Deep Blue Sea. I said Guillermo Navarro. He was the DP, not the director. Did I just re-say that again wrong, incorrectly?
No,
The
I
Long
feel
Kiss
as
Goodnight
though
was directed by Rennie Harlin, and the DP was Guillermo Navarro. Rennie Harlin and Gina Davis were married during this movie. So yet again, it just makes me know that I have to find the
directors, please.
to marry so I can be put in the best action mom movie that ever there was.
Yeah.
That's
Well, you
what's
might
up.
also have to be 6'5" like Gina Davis in order to be in.
Oh, yeah. Well, she started as a model.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
I did not
Yeah.
know that.
Oh, you guys
I-
should listen to the Mark Maron What the Fuck Up podcast episode with Gina Davis. Also, she's like one of my favorite actresses and like one of the ones that I've really looked up to as a
I've
child.
never noticed how tall she was until there was a wide shot of her and Brian Cox and Samuel L. Jackson, and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's giant. She's a giant. And not in a bad way. I'm 5'6". I am a short man, so that's why I'm like, oh my gosh, she's
But big
really
in stature.
tall.
Big in stature. I'm saying you're short in height, but big in stature.
We
Oh.
both thought you were talking about Gina Davis.
Yeah, same.
No,
I was
no.
like, I don't know if that's a
Yeah, I don't know how
insult or
to
a
take that.
No, I was
Yeah,
talking
Gina
about
Davis.
Trav.
She's a football player. Yeah.
She looks like a linebacker.
Okay. We digress, but we are supposed to be talking about story and the ridiculousness that unfolds in this movie.
I love it.
I will let you go first, Kai.
Me?
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you may have a lot more to.
Well, you
pick
might clarify a
apart.
bit for Brian
Yeah,
and I.
give me the questions. What do you got?
Well, let me just first say, in terms of the story, that if somebody just gave me the plot synopsis, I would probably be intrigued by that. But the script, I found confusing at times. And then there was a little part of me. So I think, did we all watch it on Tubi?
No,
I actually bought the movie.
me too.
Okay,
yeah.
So I did not.
Because I thought
and
it was Kiss the Girls. And I'm like, I like this movie. I should buy it.
See, I bought it because I knew it was The Long Kiss Goodnight, and I
It
was
was
like,
also
I for
only
sure will watch
it was
this
also only
again.
$4.99, and it
Exactly.
was
It
like
was a
$2.99 to
dollar
rent
more.
it.
No,
Yeah.
it was $3.99 to rent. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
a dollar more to buy. So I also purchased
So-
the movie.
Oh my
I
gosh,
was-
Brian
so,
got
like-
the edited version.
No, well,
again.
so the thing is, like nothing was censored. Like they were cursing, like it was all the violence. I just wasn't sure if they maybe cut stuff up, because the one thing that confused the shit out of me that was sort of explained by the Google description was how the fuck Samuel L. was connected to any of this. Because from what I
Thank
saw,
you, Brian.
he
Wait,
was like
what?
pretending to be a cop in the beginning with
Yeah.
whatever her name is, pretending to be the prostitute.
No,
Hold
no,
on,
no.
hold on.
Right, these are our questions because I
Okay.
have
know,
a lot
but
of.
I can just stop you
Okay.
right now and explain.
No.
But I'm
the
just going to
answer
tell you
your
from, let me
question.
tell you my perspective real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So,
Was-
and then all of a sudden, like, it turns out that he's looking for her, and then Samuel's like partner's got like, oh, she surfaced in whatever town it is, and then all of a sudden the one-eyed guy tries to kill her in her home, and then Samuel just runs up to the front door. All of a sudden he's just there. Like, that didn't make any sense, like how he got there, why he was there. It was never clear to me that she hired him to help.
There were several times throughout this movie where I stopped and I was like, why is Samuel L. Jackson here? Like, I have no idea. And like, why did she go with him? He just like showed up because she trucked her daughter out the side of the house into the tree house.
That was impressive, though.
Okay, I don't know
just
how
like, I'm
you
gonna
guys
go with this guy.
missed the like everything.
Wait. I think this is really important critique of like the actual screenplay, because Brian brought up a really good point of,
thank you.
He saw it on this free service, so he thought it might have been edited. It was essentially like if he was watching it on like cable and like they cut it for time.
Yeah.
I was watching
pretty
this
sure
movie.
they didn't, though.
Amanda was watching it with me, and there was a time where I looked at it, like I stopped the movie and I'm like, I feel as though there's an hour of this movie that they cut out somewhere that just makes this movie make sense, because it does not make sense.
So I will say I haven't seen this movie since I was a kid.
Okay.
So probably high school, I will say. So because I hadn't seen it since high school, I didn't quite remember all of the plot stuff either. But I got it because they explain it quite easily in the beginning, that she tells her, so she being Samantha, when she's still Samantha, she talks about in the voiceover, and then I think she mentioned something to the guy that she's seeing, that she has, no, it's just in the voiceover. She says she's hired several private investigators, one after another, and she spent a ton of money doing this to look into who she was in her previous life. She can't remember anything. Then she makes some comment about, now I'm on the cheap guys. Then we cut to a scene of Samuel L. Jackson and what's her name. So we get that, or
you're
totally
assuming.
So right, but we're not. So we assume that from the cut to.
Yeah.
But then she talks about Amnesia Chick. This is what I learned about our client, Amnesia Chick.
I totally missed that.
They set it up right there, and she's like. And then she's like, we just got really lucky, because Gina Davis's character, Samantha, has talked about how nobody could find anything. The reason they got really lucky is because Gina Davis, back in the day when she was Charlie the spy, used to live next to this woman who had just passed away in her apartment and had kept all of Charlie's stuff when Charlie, like, all of a sudden disappeared out of the blue. So the woman dies, and then she says, we got lucky because...
Do we see this woman? What woman died?
It's all explained by...
Do you remember this?
That part I remember. I remember her saying we got lucky because of the stuff.
Yeah.
I missed the entire
but
part
where
she said that she hired him, though. I completely missed that.
Oh, yeah. She talks about Amnesia Chick.
No, I remember her, like, Samuel's assistant or whatever she is. I remember all that part. But I did not remember or catch at all when Gina Davis talked about like hiring him. So that's why when he just shows up at her front door, I was confused as hell.
Well, okay, so then he also wait. So he also so that's all explained. They also even explained that the reason they even found out about the woman who had passed away was because her nephew had come in and found Gina Davis's old stuff, something that said a credit card that said Samantha on it, and tried to use it at like a Nordstrom's or something. And they got a hit on that. That's how they found out about all of that. And then he's like, well, this is awesome. I'll go over there tonight. I'll call her or get her on the phone right now. Tell her I'm coming over there tonight. Then we go back to their house later at night. She's chopping veggies or whatever. Or no, she has a moment.
Pass me anything, please.
Yeah.
I can't stop.
That was one of my favorite scenes as a kid, I remember, because I remember being like, whoa, how cool. And like, especially I think when watching this movie in like middle school and kids started bringing like butterfly knives to school and like doing cool tricks in the lunchroom or whatever, I was like, oh shit, if I could learn to use a knife like that, I'd be a badass. But what's so funny is that watching it this time around, I'm watching, I like knowing the movie and knowing how cool I thought that scene was, and then actually knowing how to chop vegetables now because I work in kitchen.
Her form was terrible.
It was horrible.
Yeah.
And like,
She was like
if you
this with the
actually
knife.
look,
Yeah.
yes. And if you
Yeah.
actually look at the carrot bits,
Yeah.
they're like not at all finely chopped.
There's
It was
there's
like
no good.
absolutely
It's
horrible.
terrible mise en place. Terrible mise en place.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
And then the
But anyways,
husband's
that's
just like
all
passing her
explained.
stuff, and I'm like, no, I would be like, honey, okay, put the knife down.
Yeah, I'd be like,
Not
I'd be like,
down.
husband, just a
We're like-
dude she's seeing.
no, I thought they were engaged.
Oh, they're engaged. Okay.
Maybe.
Oh, they weren't
Fiance-
married?
No.
No.
She
Oh.
says that also in the
Yeah.
beginning. My
That I
God,
thought.
were you guys just not
So
paying
I
attention at the beginning?
think
They
so.
set all of this up.
I think this movie is confusing, and I think that the studio knew this as well, which is why there is so much damn narration in the first 15 minutes, and then we just get rid of it. This one storytelling device.
Yeah, actually,
we
that
have,
is interesting.
and then it's just gone.
yeah.
and
Maybe
then
they
we
went
never
back
hear from
after
her
the
again.
fact. They went back after
No,
the
they
movie
probably
was
had
edited.
test screening. They had
Did-
test screening, and people
Well,
were like,
that's
"Wait, why is
that's
Samuel
what I'm saying.
Jackson
Yeah,
there?"
yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They
Did-
went back
wait.
after the fact.
Yeah. Did was there any voiceover in the very end of the
No.
movie? No.
No.
See, if they had even brought it
Yeah.
back just at the tail end, which they easily could have done when they're like doing that pan away shot
Yeah.
from
And she
them with goats.
and she could have said after she threw she threw a knife right in the end on the farm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same way that she
Yeah.
did with the
It
tomato
could have
at the
just been
beginning.
one quick narration of like, chefs do it.
Correct. But
The
she already
end.
used that. That would have been the third time plugging it, which would have been
Yeah,
okay.
but
Yeah,
it would have
which
been a
would've been
button
fine.
from like
yeah.
it would have been like an hour 45 from like the last time she said it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no,
Which
no.
chefs don't do that. They don't throw their
No,
expensive
she
knives
says
at the
it.
wall.
She says it like
I'm guessing
somewhere halfway through. Yeah. Anyways,
She- wait.
did this movie feel really long to you?
No, she did it twice. She said it when she throws the knife.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then she says it in the next scene when she like kills that guy in the kitchen.
Chefs do it. Yeah, but
Yeah,
then
she does.
she also says it later to Samuel L. Jackson, doesn't she?
I don't
I
think
don't
so.
remember.
I don't
Oh.
remember that.
Maybe I'm making that up.
This
d-
movie didn't feel. Sorry, go.
Oh, sorry. No, you were going to answer the same question I was going to answer, so you can go.
Yeah. This movie didn't feel long to me, but the pacing felt so off for me. Like it felt like they were jumping from thing to thing, and that's why I'm like, I don't like.
Do you feel like that was a script thing or an editing thing?
I feel like there was other scenes in between that fleshed out the story more that they cut out and just like what's the next like pivotal action scene that we need to get to. Not just like action like bang bang bang, but like action in terms of like, you know, the players talking to one another. But
Yeah.
I felt as though I felt as how you felt in one of the movies that we watched where you said that you needed more scenes where you felt fleshed out and someone doing laundry. Brightburn. I felt with this movie how you felt with Brightburn.
Oh, yeah.
In Brightburn, you said you felt like you wish you had more time with the family
Right,
to like
right.
like get the world. That's how I felt about this movie. Not that I would want this movie to be longer than 2 hours.
What part of it though? Because you're right. When we were talking about Brightburn, I wanted to understand the family and their love and the connections that I cared about the characters. What specifically would you have wanted to see fleshed out in this film?
I think they could have fleshed out the fact that she has split personality disorder and is a paranoid schizophrenic, probably. Because she's clearly not right in the head.
I wrote down split personality disorder on my notes
like
as
the
well.
tonal shift.
When
When she starts to dye her hair, like when she dyes her hair, she's a whole different person.
She's a
And I'm like,
different person.
the first moment where she's in the hospital after the car crash and she has the first dream about Charlie, and there's that like electricity in the mirror in this like mountain place, and Charlie's like, I'll be seeing you again or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that cracked me up. I was like, ooh, it's her inner dark, seedy child coming out to play.
So I will also say another confusing thing. When she gets flown from the car,
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a flashback to how she got amnesia.
Yeah.
So
also,
just
she
to
ain't
set-
surviving
So-
that shit. Let's be honest.
so then
she
I'm like,
flew
wait, she
through
has
the
double
fucking
amnesia?
windshield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, so just to set viewers up, if you maybe haven't
Who
seen
was she in
this
the car
movie
with?
in a long time, one of the drunk neighbor guys who was at
Yeah.
family member who was at the holiday party. So just to set this up, this movie starts with a woman that we know has amnesia.
Why was she in the
Um,
parade?
She has not I don't know. She got to be
That's
cute
small
because she's a
town
teacher.
parade.
Small town parade. Let
There
me set
aren't a
this
lot
up.
of good-looking
Give me a
women
second.
in small towns like that.
So the movie setup is we've got this woman. She has amnesia. She woke up on a beach somewhere 8 years ago. She has no idea who she is, but she was pregnant. So she ends up having a life living in a small town as a school teacher. And we see her 8 years later with this 8-year-old daughter and this lovely guy she's engaged to. They're having a holiday party. She takes this drunk guy home from the holiday party. He is being a drunk asshole and tries to touch her boob, and then she swerves out of control in the icy roads.
No,
By the
they
way, I
see a
loved
deer.
that this was all
She
shot
swerves
in
'cause
the
she
winter.
almost hit a
Oh,
deer.
that's why. Right,
She
right
hits the
before
deer.
that. And then
Oh, yeah,
she
she
hits
does
the
hit
The
deer.
deer
Yeah.
kung fu kicks through the window and like keeps trying to kick them in the face.
Yes, which is
Yeah.
very cool to watch actually. And then she they fly off the cliff and she flies into the snow and the deer flies into the snow and
Well,
she breaks
she
the deer's
doesn't
neck.
just fly
Anyway,
into the
And
snow.
then she
She flies through the
decides to-
windshield.
Yeah.
The windshield
Yes.
was already basically broken in half, but she flies
Yeah.
through the windshield when the car hits the tree.
guys, this is exactly why
It's so fu-
her amnesia is kicked out of her head and now she can remember things again. No,
Oh,
she
is
doesn't.
that-
No, that's like supposed to be the impetus, right? But she does not.
Oh, really?
Impetus? Is that a word? Did I make that up? I'm trying
Impetus.
to use impetus. Thank you. But I think that's like it like knocked her back to her senses, and so she
Yeah.
starts to remember things after that. But she doesn't like completely
Oh.
come back yet, right? Because she still doesn't know sort of what's going on. But Charlie's coming back.
I 100%
Charlie's
thought she was
like,
going to wake up in the
"Hello."
hospital and be like, who am I? Again. So we're on this journey of double
Well,
amnesia.
A double
Wha-
amnesia.
One other part of that same scene when she goes flying through, like she gets up, she's kind of, out of it. Obviously, she just flew through a fucking car windshield. But she gets up, the dude is still in the car, presumably.
I know.
The car catches on fire. She just gets up, kills the deer, puts the deer out of its misery because it
And
wasn't
then
dead, but it was
passes
fucked
out.
up, and then passes out. So what happens to the other dude?
because
Does he burn up in a
we don't
fiery
care.
inferno?
He
I
should
cared
because
I care
here's
about
the
all
thing.
people.
But here's the thing. He tried to grope her right before they saw the deer because he's an old drunk lech. And Charlie, her
Yeah.
inner spy badass self, was like, fuck that dude. And she was like, I'll
Maybe.
help out this innocent deer, but fuck the dude trying to grope me.
Maybe.
I don't remember him
I-
trying to
I
grope
loved it.
her.
Yeah,
What?
that
He does this thing.
Wait.
And then he touches her boobs and she's like, hey, get out of here.
Brian, did you know that he was trying to grope her?
yeah, that's why she was distracted
Oh.
when they were
No,
driving. And
I
she
know
didn't
that
see
he
the
was
deer
like,
until last
I thought
minute.
he was just messing around with his hands. I didn't get that he like was trying to grope her breasts. I thought he was like trying to block her vision, like messing around, like, oh, you can't see.
No, he's
I didn't get that.
just,
Dang.
you're too innocent, Travis.
That's true.
You're such a baby boy.
You are.
Mhm.
You
I
are
am
a
the
baby.
youngest on the podcast. They are all in their 40s.
Hey,
Excuse me.
I am not.
It's fucked up.
My eye wrinkles say something different, but I'm actually not.
I will say to answer Kai's earlier question, I did feel like this felt long. And let me first say, I did enjoy this. Like I thought this was entertaining. I thought it was dumb as hell, but I thought it was entertaining. And I thought it was enjoyable. But yeah, there were a few points where I was watching and I was like, okay, this is like the end right here. And then I would look how much time and there's still like 35 minutes left or something like that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so like there were definitely a few points, and I think it's kind of like what Travis was talking about. The pacing was a little bit all over the place, but again, I did enjoy it. I thought it was a fun watch, at least.
I loved watching this movie even this time around, but I really it is so interesting, the ones that we've like seen from our childhood, because I think I even bring a feeling to the movie when I watch it again, even though I haven't seen it since high school. I like instantly when I turned on the movie, I instantly was like, there was joy that like rushed through my body of like, ooh, I'm gonna watch The Long Kiss Goodnight. So I like brought that into the whole movie, and I just realized it's hard for me to see it clearly or judge it clearly. So it's interesting to hear what you guys actually have to say about it.
I sat down and I'm like, yeah, I'm going to see Samuel L. Jackson get the serial killer.
Wait, you're gonna see Samuel? Oh,
Because I thought it was
that's
Kiss the Girls. And it's funny because I had the thought of like, I could have sworn Morgan Freeman was in it. And I'm like, am I racist? Am I just confusing the two?
Ooh, yeah.
No, instead, you get to see Samuel Jackson save the day. Oh,
Yeah.
Sammy. I love
Even
some
though
of
he
his
should have died like
one-liners.
45
Oh my
minutes
God.
before.
I know
He
we
should
were
have been
talking
so dead.
plot. He should have been.
I did think it was pretty funny. He's like clearly like just bleeding everywhere. He's like, I'm gonna save you.
I will say, I know we were talking script plot, which I agree is quite dumb. I like the premise, as you
Yeah.
said, Brian, but it does become a bit dumb. But I do love
bit dumb?
It's dumb. But I do love the dialogue of this movie. I love her lines. I love Sammy L. J's lines.
See, I felt like tonally like it felt like some of the comedy lines were forced and like they didn't land all of them. So then I'm like, is this supposed to be a comedy? Is this not supposed to be a comedy? Is this supposed to be like a comedic relief here and there? Like I felt as though there was too much of those quippy lines to where it wasn't comedic relief, but then it wasn't funny enough to be a full comedy,
Mhm.
if that makes sense.
This felt campy without, like, not on purpose.
Yeah, it's funny because when Travis earlier was like, this has so much camp, I went, is it campy? Like,
Yeah.
I would never call this movie campy. And then I went,
She
oh,
throws her
yeah,
daughter out of the house.
that's
One armed.
just smart.
Just
That was just mom strength. That was
Uh-huh.
just the setup for how fucking badass she is.
Yeah.
They had to punch us in the face with that.
8 years of no training or working
You know
out
what
or
I
anything
love
like
is
that.
that her
and she could
daughter's
just
fine too. She's like smashes
landed
her head through a
perfectly.
goddamn window and she's fine. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that in that scene she like gets worked. And then she like hits the guy one time, this big dude one time, and then he's just like, ooh.
Yeah.
He's
Of
just
course.
like down.
Of course. No, speaking of that, when you said 8 years without any, training or working out or whatever, I love when she becomes Charlie again. They're in that shitty hotel in Atlantic City, and she's like, "Do you see the ass that this lady's given me or whatever?" And she's like this tall, beautiful, skinny blonde
Yeah.
bombshell, and I was just like, "Oh, Hollywood."
Well, and was it Brian Cox's character? Somebody says to her, like, makes a joke about her being a little bit heavier than the last time we saw her. There was somebody else who made a joke. I just don't remember who it was.
Man,
That cracks
they
me
should have
up.
went all into it. They should have got someone like Melissa McCarthy size and did it. And
Well,
then
she
and then
has-
it could be
what-
like
what is her movie?
she looks
Spy?
like that, but she's
Isn't it
still a
just called Spy?
badass. What?
Isn't Melissa McCarthy
Oh, yeah,
has a movie
Spy.
called Spy?
Yeah.
No, yeah. But I'm just saying for like that. But like, sure, which is a great movie.
We were still in the 90s.
Yeah, that was considered fat back then. Okay, I have a
That's how
question
much
because
I
I'm
loved
apparently
it.
stupid and didn't understand this movie at all.
Yeah.
What were the bad people trying to do? With
Yeah,
the
I had
bomb?
no idea. I had
Other than possibly start a war with Canada, apparently.
no,
So-
I know what it was, but you can tell
Great.
if you want.
No, go for it.
They were trying to
Go
kill
for it.
4,000 people? Is
Yeah,
that what I was
basically
getting?
They
because
had to kill 4,000 people. They didn't want to. They had to get more money from the president to show
Yeah.
that they were of value.
This is very Trumpian of you.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
They had to.
See,
It
they
says
had
4,000
to.
people.
huge plan, best
Look,
plan,
look,
huge
look,
plan.
yeah.
Look,
I don't want to do it, but I have to. Gotta kill some people.
4,000 to be exact.
Okay.
Okay.
So they needed to get funding from the president.
Yes.
Wasn't
Remember
it for,
there's
like,
that
defense
scene where
spending
Who
or
were the
something?
bad
president's
people,
making
though?
himself a ham sandwich. He's like smacking some mayonnaise, and he's like, "You guys suck.
Yeah.
What do I give you money for?"
Wait,
Ba-da-ba.
that was supposed to be the president.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's why they
In the
show
scene.
us
In the
the
scene.
shot of the White House, and then we go
In the
in.
scene, I was like, I think this is supposed to be the president, but the president in no way is making his own ham sandwich.
I
You never
thought
know.
right away, why
the
is
full
the president
ham right there,
making a
too.
ham sandwich?
he's a man
yeah,
of
with
the people.
full ham, exactly.
Okay, so the bad people were so the CIA was trying to get more funding from the president,
Correct.
even though we already give them $750 billion
They
in
needed more,
defense
man.
every single year.
They needed more. In this
You kn-
particular
So
year,
this movie's a fantasy
they
because
needed
also the
more.
president wanted to put that money into healthcare.
right? Correct.
Not the prison system or
Oh,
anything.
God,
He's like
I
a
just-
healthcare.
I just listened to an episode of The Daily. Do you guys ever listen to The Daily, the
Mhm.
podcast, New
Yeah.
York Times, about where we're going financially because they're, fighting over the budget right now. And it was a really scary podcast. I mean, it's very informative. I was like, this is great.
But this isn't a scary podcast.
Yeah,
This is a fun one.
Fun.
That's what you
I'll
think,
just cut that off
motherfucker.
right now.
Yeah.
I know. There was earlier. Yeah. You know what? I'm not even going to go there.
When they were on the bridge and she was like telling her daughter to run, I was like, yeah, run. Like, run that way. You'll be in Canada. You could get everything checked out. You could get your wrist fixed, everything for free. You'll be
will
fine.
yeah.
have health benefits,
You'll
little
have
girl. You don't
healthcare.
know how much that means. Run across that bridge.
Also, she died, right? Like her eyes were open and she was just laying there.
What? Who? What?
Gina Davis.
Oh, she didn't die and come back to life.
Her
She-
eyes were open.
She looked dead.
basically just had a little.
It was the
pass out.
power of belief.
She
With her
fainted.
eyes, with her eyes open.
My dog
She
sleeps with
fainted.
her eyes open, so it's possible. I'm
There
just
you go.
saying.
There are people that do.
So,
yeah.
so she was napping, Brian. That's what you're
Yes.
going with.
She was
fainted.
dude. She was working a lot. Okay, she was real tired.
She was tired. But I actually love that they bring it back, that fucked up scene where her kid's out skating and she's like, get up, get off of the ice, you
Yeah.
little ba ba ba.
Yeah.
The world is tough. I love that her daughter says that to her in the end. And she gets up and she's like, yeah.
Here's one thing about
she said that. I wasn't paying attention to that because I'm like, oh, honey, she's dead. Her eyes are open.
No,
Like,
she
you're gonna have to get a
repeats
new
the
mom.
same thing that her
She-
mother said to her when they were out
No,
on the
I
ice.
get that, but I
Yeah.
think I was more so worried. I was more so focusing on the fact that she was dead
Ah.
and not what the little girl was saying.
See, I was focusing on what the little girl was saying.
I was like, this little girl is gonna be in the foster care system.
Because I remember
she doesn't have her dad.
Yeah. I remembered that she gets up, so I wasn't really.
It's just a weird choice to have her lay there with her eyes.
Can
Yeah.
we talk about though right after that when she shoots up the okay, you're still laying there. When she shoots up the what is it called? The
Christmas lights?
Christmas lights and yaks the gun from the dead guy and shoots him in the helicopter because I was like, this is the
That was-
coolest fucking
that was pretty
moment.
badass, if not completely unrealistic, but it was badass.
Yes. I will say though, I just watched. Did you guys watch A Violent Night?
No.
The
Yes.
Christmas movie that came out recently.
Yes.
No.
I watched
Okay,
it the same
just
day
watched
as this,
Violent
actually.
Night. Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's funny. So I watched Violent Night, and watching that movie, I was like, this movie stole action from like every other famous
Oh,
action
yeah.
movie and repeated it. But I did feel like at least in The Long Kiss Goodnight, there was a lot of action sequences or things like that I was like, I've never seen this before. Or like I couldn't like find a movie that did it the exact same way.
I can't think of anything off the top of my head. Probably when this came out in the mid 90s, maybe. But
Maybe. Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. But yeah, Violent Night was also really dumb, but really fun. That was a very fun movie. I enjoyed it.
It was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. But also really
Go for it,
stupid.
Brian.
It could be.
I
on
was
this
just gonna
podcast.
say the scene that it could be good for this podcast, but the scene that proceeds when Charlie is laying dead or asleep, whatever it is, her daughter has like hidden herself in some sort of compartment on the side of that like 18-wheeler or whatever
Yeah,
it is.
she deserved to die.
The truck flips over, it goes flying, and she doesn't even have a fucking scratch on her. Oh my God, that drove me nuts. Like, I didn't want the girl to die, but like,
She was
nobody
contained
survives
in
that.
this little
No,
thing.
she's going flying around, like a door is opening up and she's flying out the front or the back of it. Like, there's no fucking chance
She
she
was
comes out of that
locked in
unscathed.
it.
She's at least concussed, if nothing else. She's got
Right.
brain
She's dead.
bleeding, something, if nothing
and the
else.
fact that Gina Davis was trying to save her daughter, yet she's like, let me crash this truck
Yeah.
Yeah.
that my daughter's in.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah.
I know my daughter's in it, but
Yeah.
it was also very like, why on earth would those brakes break at that? They're like
Yeah, that made no sense.
so many times
That
in
made
this
no
movie. I was just
sense.
like, oh my gosh, why?
Can I tell you, I do really enjoy action in the snow, though. There's something
Sure.
about the
Yeah, I'll give you
winter
that.
weather and action movies
I
that's
really
more
didn't care for the
exciting to
action
me.
in this movie, though. I was gonna wait for technical though to talk about all that
Yeah,
stuff
we
because
can
we're
get
still
into
on
that later.
Okay, we can.
plot and
Yeah.
synopsis. But I will say one of my pet peeves in movies is when someone with a handgun could somehow like bring a helicopter down when there's like people in the helicopter with like machine guns and
That I feel like that happens quite often.
no,
though.
I know.
Yeah,
It's like a
yeah,
huge pet peeve of mine that like they're like shooting down at them with these assault rifles and then like the hero is just like bang, bang, bang. And I'm like, yeah, that one handgun brought down that helicopter. That bullet really got up there. How about we move on to acting?
Okay,
Sure.
can we talk about how Gina Davis is a badass?
Sure.
Besides the chopping, she looked like she knew how to handle a gun.
Sure. But can we talk about the best actor in this movie and why it was Brian Cox?
Well, he's the best
It's 'cause
actor in
it's
all
Brian
movies, but I
Cox.
don't. But I also don't agree with that because I mean, he was incredible in this movie, but so was Gina Davis, so was Samuel L. Jackson.
So
I love-
it's hard for me to say Samuel L. was incredible because I love Samuel L. But he felt the same as every other movie that I've ever seen him in for the most part, which I love. But it's hard for me to say like he's incredible when it's like the same character in almost every movie.
I saw the soft-hearted, goofy dad character in this though than I have in like anything else. You know, even like at the end of it when he's on Larry King Live and
He says the raunchy sex
yeah,
joke?
he says but there's like but
That
that's
was
like
so
your
dumb,
old
but funny.
it was like a sexy dad joke because he's like the way he like laughs afterwards. I thought this movie. I understand what you're saying, Brian, and I think he had a little dad twist on it that
I
you
would
don't
have.
see with
So
some of his
I
movies.
thought because in that scene when he's on Larry David, his
Larry King.
son
Larry King.
Larry King.
I was
sorry.
like,
He was
something
he
about
was
what
not
you
on
just said
he was
is
not
very wrong.
Curb Your Enthusiasm had not started at that point.
Excuse me.
What I was
go
going
ahead.
to say is that his son and baby mama are watching him on Larry King. And I
Yes.
thought it was going to be this great moment of like this moment of like seeing like, oh, dad is like a good guy. Like I should let my son see his dad. But then it undercuts it with this like
Yeah, that's fair.
terrible joke about like I'm just sleeping with all these women. And like I know it's said in a way that's not supposed to like you're not supposed to take him seriously to some extent.
Yeah,
But it's
yeah.
like I
Yeah.
got the dad vibes as well. In that scene with him and his son, it was a really good scene. It
Yeah,
was like an
yeah.
endearing scene. And then
And then they undercut it.
it reminded me of Armageddon when I'm blanking on his name, but the guy who's in Remember the Titans, he can't see his son. And then when he comes back, his son and the mom see him on TV. So it like redeems his character. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah, I feel like I vaguely remember talking, but I haven't seen that movie in at least 15 years.
Yeah.
I think that
kinda
is
how-
the Citizen Kane of good bad movies.
Oh, yes, that's
Huh.
probably true.
Yeah, why
No,
haven't we done it?
Because I just think it's a clear good bad. Like I don't think there's like much room for like discussion in that.
Well,
So
that's
I wanna know
awfully
what the-
close-minded
so
of
it's
you.
the I want to know what the Citizen Kane of bad good movies is then. We'll think about that
Under
and come
the
back
Silver
to
Lake?
you
I don't know.
leaders, audience members, viewers, listeners. That's what I meant to say. Who are on a podcast.
American Hustle.
That's a bad good movie. I think that's a bad movie. That script is bad.
It was meant to be good. It
But the
got 12 Oscar nominations and won 0. It's the biggest loser in Academy Award history. Like that's just like
But
a
I
bad-
was not entertained and thought it was bad.
That's why I'm saying it's a bad. It's like
No, it's a bad movie.
it's a bad
I
good.
get what you're saying.
It's a bad good movie in that it should have been good.
So let's talk about how wonderful Gina Davis was in this
She was
movie.
fine. I didn't really believe her,
What?
but she was fine.
You didn't
I-
believe her?
Brian,
I will say
back me up.
I
Back me up.
I
Back me
had
up,
never
Brian.
seen her in an action. I don't know if she'd done another action movie other than this, but I thought she was pretty good as like an action star. I have other thoughts on like the action in general, but like I thought she was pretty good at that. Overall, in general, the acting throughout, there was nobody that I watched and I was like, yeah, that was really good. There were a few people that I was like, ugh, that was it. Just like it. Part of what made me think it felt campy, but not on purpose, was the acting. Like it felt over dramatic or like melodramatic. Yeah, so like I thought she was pretty good as an action person, action star, whatever you want to call it.
Can you guys name any other movies prior to this time where there was a female action star? Like she is the star of the film. It's her story.
I think G.I. Jane was before this. What?
Oh,
Wasn't it?
I'm sure it probably was.
It was probably around the same time, if not.
No, I think G.I.
it's
Jane is like a
earlier,
few years
early
before.
90s, yeah.
Oh, no, it was the same year. Interesting.
Because for me, I think especially why I love Gina Davis in this movie and just in general, it was like as a kid, she was the strong character in all the movies. Like A League of Their Own was another one of my favorite movies. And she was the strong character doing male stuff, which like she was one of the first women that showed me I could do things. And so I just can't not love her in every way, shape, and form in this movie because of that.
I think, and this ties into my previous note that I said I would bring up in technical, but I actually think that the action sequences undercut her as an action star because they were so bad. Because the action sequences were so they're not very good. And I think we don't get to see Gina Davis in this like full master shot or like wide shot of just like mowing people down or like beating the crap out of people. It's like this it's poorly edited and poorly, I don't know, it feels as though like in the edit they thought the action sequences weren't convincing or good, so they had to figure out a way to edit around it.
Yeah.
And that's not, I obviously don't know, but it feels as though it was either poorly, like I would be pissed if I was the director if we shot some great action stuff and then the editor like cut it like that. So the way it was cut makes me think that they didn't have much to work on. Work with. Sorry.
I have sorry, I'm just looking through my notes and I have a couple things that are kind of like technical but also plot that I'm not sure if I should save for later or bring up now.
Well, you're going to have to save them for later because plot was the previous category and technical is the next one. So
I don't care about your rules, Travis.
I'm going to just talk about one thing that I did like with the acting was I think Gina Davis and Samuel L. Jackson worked well as a pairing. Like they were fun to watch in scenes together, which I would have never like plucked out.
I thought the scene with them when she like is trying to seduce him, I was so uncomfortable.
Really?
And I think it's also because we don't usually see Samuel L. Jackson in like
sexy scenes,
romantic roles in any way. I'm just like, I feel so, and also like this hard switch that happened from the scene before. I'm just like, where is this coming from? This is weird. And like, he's also like, they didn't like make him look attractive in any way. So she's like kissing his like hair on his, it's just like, I don't.
I'm sorry, but Sammy in his green suit with that turtleneck. And
but he's not wearing that. I'm talking about that scene.
AF.
I'm talking about how cringy that scene was.
What is he wearing in that scene?
He's wearing like
he's shirtless.
White
I thought.
Tank.
Yeah.
I thought he was wearing a white tank top.
A wife beater. Yeah.
I was trying not to use that term, but yeah.
I guess I probably shouldn't use that term either. I just know it so well as that term.
It's hard. Yeah.
That was such an old person thing to say. Well, I'm going to use it anyways because I just know it as that thing.
These young kids just need to get over
right.
this PC culture.
Whoops.
You have some gems in this season that we could just cut together to be
God. No, there's
Kai's going to have this alt-right following by the end of it.
Right. Oh, Jesus. So an alt-right following, and then I'm doing a Trump impression, and they'll be like, see, and she's a huge Trump
supporter.
Yeah.
Just put right before that, I love him. So you're like, I love him.
There was, so it's funny, because we had some actors, like Brian Cox is always like a grounded dude, right?
Yeah.
Like and then I felt sort of the same with Gina Davis, but then we have like all the bad guys. That's when the like element of camp or cheese came in.
Yeah, because they all had to wear black. They all had to wear leather
and turtlenecs and like whatever.
David Morse was
the
Like she thought that they were engaged at first until
cowboy
they
guy
remembered.
out on the farm. Yeah.
Oh, that dude.
I actually liked him. I thought
I-
his
I
little part was
generally
pretty
am a
good.
fan
but
of
they
his.
but he couldn't be in black and in a turtleneck because then they drive up and then she'd be like, oh well, he's a bad
He's
guy.
a bad guy.
That's true.
Yeah.
I couldn't have been engaged to
Touche.
somebody who would wear black.
Because they knew everyone in the train station was bad because they were wearing all black and coming at them.
That's true.
That part was so cheesy that he's like,
That part?
oh, I know. Well, yeah, there's so many parts, but then he's like, oh, I know that you. You are telling me the truth, aren't you? Because I know how when people lie or whatever. And then he just like radios and he's like, get him. Basically, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's like, get him. And I'm like,
Who's
why would
talking
you
in
not
this
wait?
scenario?
Her actual baby daddy, we think, because he's got the same eyes as his daughter. That bad
Oh.
guy. I can't remember what his name is in the movie, but in the very first train station scene where like he comes up to the bar and he like tries to make a pass at her to check to see if
That
she
guy.
yeah.
Got it. I thought you meant the guy that she thought was her fiance.
Oh no, sorry, right?
Got it.
Because that is
Okay.
who we were talking about. Sorry, I swapped over.
Yeah.
I just think it's so funny that he like walks away and he's like, get her or whatever, which is like, why wouldn't you wait for her to like exit a very public train station? Like, why do you have to do it here in the middle of, why would you do it here? That too, there are like no cops anywhere.
I
Cops
thought that
anywhere.
I thought that in the scene where she goes back home for some strange reason, and then I forgot why they go back home.
To get the key.
And then she ice skates across the lake.
That was so dumb,
There's
but kind
not-
of fun, I thought.
but also cool.
Yeah.
It was the
See?
stupidest thing.
But also, like, what other movie do you see an ice skating action star? That's what I'm saying. They got real original in this one.
Sure.
You guys are like,
True,
great,
sure,
but I
yeah.
wasn't entertained.
If you want
by
to
it.
hang your hat on that action scene, sure.
Speaking of just actors in this movie, do you know who the kid is that played Samuel L. Jackson's son?
No.
Edwin Hodge, who has been in a lot of things, one of which we watched for this podcast, The Tomorrow War. He played the soldier who kept going back and forth to the future or whatever it was. Remember, like the real, like kind of jackass dude.
yeah.
Yeah, that was Samuel L. Jackson's kid in this movie.
Oh, wow.
Linda Hamilton was before Gina Davis in the Terminator series. She was in the
True.
80s.
Yes,
Terminator
but
1.
is she...
I'm totally cherry picking though. I get I
'cause
get
it's
your
not
sentiment.
her story. It's not about, like...
Terminator
She's the main
1 kind
character.
of is about her story.
I
Terminator
guess
2 is
maybe.
about her
Yeah.
kid. But Terminator
Yeah,
1's
okay.
kind of more about her.
Her, yeah. But she's not like an action star.
I'm totally cherry picking though.
Yeah.
You just actually had me thinking of like, gosh, did we really not have a single woman action star before? And I found one.
But also,
You know.
she does action because she has to, but she is not an action star. Am I wrong
Don't
about?
all
No,
don't
okay,
all
yes.
women that
No,
are actors have to do action in an action
No.
movie?
I mean the character in the story,
Oh,
she is
okay.
put in a position where she
Oh,
just
I
has
see what
to.
you're saying.
Isn't that more
Where-
badass?
What?
Isn't that more badass?
Well, no, because I
Don't we
think
usually love the everyday person that rises up and like can be a
sure, but both are badass. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about had there ever been somebody who like in their life went after, like G.I.
Mhm.
Jane is somebody that's in the military that's
Yeah.
a woman. This is somebody who is a badass spy that's a woman.
That's fair.
again? We need more of them. I'm just saying. I was cherry picking.
Movies or
No. Women actions.
women
I mean,
spies.
obviously we have a lot of them now with like comic book.
Yeah,
stuff, but-
Well, not even. Like Charlize Theron has been in
Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, that's it. She's pretty badass actually.
Uma Thurman.
Ooh, you know what?
Uma Thurman,
Uma
yeah.
Thurman. You know what was one of my favorite movies as a kid was Tank Girl, which actually I do think was before this,
yeah.
but it's from a comic book series, and it's
Yeah,
actually
we're not watching that one, Kai.
I love that movie,
I know.
but it's also it's the actress that plays opposite of Gina Davis in A League of Their Own.
Yeah,
Whose
Yeah,
name is not
she's
coming
got kind of like
the
a
little
strange
sister.
voice or something, right? Or am I thinking of
Yeah.
someone else?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Any final notes on acting?
No.
Cool. Moving on to technical. In this last category, we'll be talking about everything technical, and that ranges from editing to cinematography to score to action set pieces to stunt coordination in this film. Brian, since you said you had a whole bunch of notes for technical, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so I kept trying to remind myself that this movie came out almost 30 years ago. So like special effects were vastly different than they are now. The first note about special effects, when she's driving the old man home before they hit the deer, it was one of the fakest driving scenes. Like, it was so clear that they were in a car on a set and not driving on a road. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then when the actual accident happens, the deer looked fake as fuck going through their windshield. When she goes flying out of the windshield when they hit the tree, looked like one of those crash test dummies, from back in the day.
I
And
think
then
I
when
was
she
more
gets
so
up,
just thrown off by the absurdity of what was happening that I didn't see all these things. I
Also,
might want to go back and see it.
It
though.
was
It
a
was
crash
bad.
test dummy. Didn't you see it had the like marks on its head? They just put a wig on it.
yeah, that's
Really?
probably what it was. And then
Oh,
and the,
with this movie, you can't joke like that because I'm like,
shut
it
up,
might
you
have been.
it might have been. But then right after she gets thrown out, I even wrote, Kai will probably point out how bad the blood looks on Gina Davis's face because it was red as
Yeah.
fuck. It looked like
Oh my
tomato,
gosh, it was
like
so bad.
ketchup on
Yeah.
her face.
But I
It
didn't
looked like
even
red
notice
paint.
because I went into this movie with my goopy childhood
Wait,
eyes.
you didn't notice the blood?
I didn't notice because I went
Oh
in.
my gosh, Kai, it's
Because
so
I
bad.
had
It was
I'm
bad.
That's it.
recognizing now.
You
I
cannot.
just had a wash over my face that was like, oh.
You cannot
the
mention.
Long Kiss
You cannot
Goodnight
critique any
blood
other
ever
movie's
again.
blood ever again because of how bad.
I am admitting
it legitimately
I
looked like
had-
bright red paint.
I had fuzzy rose-colored glasses on. Okay, I admit.
Can I just say there's another movie that I wanted to call out since this episode has us talking about a whole bunch of other movies. I don't know if either of you have seen Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yes.
Never the whole thing because I could never get through it.
Okay. But there's a scene where this cow gets hit by a car.
Oh yeah.
And the cow's on the ground. And he tries to mercy kill it and shoots it. And it like doesn't die.
Oh yeah.
And then he like tries to strangle it and it's like gurgling. And then he ends up shooting it like 7 times. And then like 3/4 of the way through the movie, there's a cop that's talking to his kids and he's like, you don't even know what he did to a cow. Ended up hitting it and shooting it 7 times. Good thing she survived. And anytime I see a animal in a movie that's like flailing, I just immediately like
Think of
start
that?
laughing because I'm like, it's gonna
That's
be an
funny.
animal that just like doesn't
Oh,
die.
no.
So the deer was like laid there. I was like,
think of Jim Carrey with an animal without thinking of him in Ace Ventura climbing
coming
out
of the rhino's
ass of the
is
rhino.
one of the
yeah.
funniest scenes in movie history.
You
I
know
think.
what? Have you watched that in a while? Because what's so funny to me is that
It's been
you
a
can
while.
see the panel on the side of the rhino that he crawled into the rhino.
Oh
in.
yeah. Well, no, it locked.
yeah, but
That's
the
like
door
the
handle
thing.
breaks.
The door handle
That's why he
breaks.
can't
That's
get
why
out.
he has to go out
yeah.
the ass.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't
Yeah.
remember what the deal was.
Yeah, and then his fan breaks, and then he's just like basically dying to get out of
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I could the deer, Brian, I'm with you on it on how fake it looked. And I was just waiting.
Yeah.
And then she goes to like snap its neck and I'm like, oh my gosh, she's gonna strangle it. It's gonna
And it
start
won't
gurgling.
Yeah.
And then it's gonna survive.
You're like, this really is not Kiss the Girls. 10 minutes in.
Just
Okay,
the
Brian.
last note that I had, and again, let me preface this by saying that I enjoyed the action, but the note I wrote was these fight scenes are horrible. Like they were just fake. I didn't think they were
They were really bad.
incredibly well choreographed or acted. I enjoyed them. Like I still thought it was fun to watch. But I don't know, maybe it's because I'm used to watching like Jason Statham, who's just like a badass in everything he does, and most people aren't Jason Statham.
I mean, I would even just say Jason Statham though, but like even just action movies nowadays are just they do such a good job, and I honestly think
Yeah.
that's why there should be a best stunt coordinator Oscar, because like,
Right. Yeah.
how are you not going to acknowledge this whole portion of the
Field.
industry?
Yeah. Even either stunt coordinator or stuntman and or woman.
Yeah. And give it to
Yeah.
Tom Cruise every single year, I guess.
Yeah.
It's crazy that we don't have that
Yeah.
award. But yeah, I agree with you, Brian. Like I just don't know. I'd be curious to know why it was so bad. Did they not have enough time? Did they not like have the actors that were capable of doing it, or they didn't have the stunt people capable of doing it?
Well, again,
just really curious.
This was the same director that directed Deep Blue Sea. And I complained about all the action and stunts and everything about that movie.
That's true.
They're
Pretty similar.
And so maybe it's just this director.
Maybe.
It's not as important to him as the like cheesy quips and making sure those pop.
I'm pretty sure that I read that the reason Samuel L. did this movie was because he had fun working on Deep Blue Sea.
Oh, I thought he did Deep Blue Sea.
Maybe it's
he
the
had
other way
fun
around.
working
He
on
did
this
one
movie.
because he enjoyed the other. I don't remember what the order is, but
I'm pretty sure
that.
Deep Blue Sea came out after.
After, yeah, I think so too.
well, then flip-flop what I said and then
Which would make
take it as
sense
fact.
because Sammy was like, "Hey, check it out. The Long Kiss Goodnight was a great movie." And then Deep Blue Sea. So he was like, "Yes to Deep Blue Sea," and then he was like, "Dang, I did Deep Blue Sea."
The
He's
craziest
like,
thing
Samuel, I want you to come back and just yell all your lines again.
the craziest thing that happened to Samuel L. in this entire movie is toward the end when Gina Davis, when Charlie and whatever her kid's name are trapped in the freezer, which first of all, that's a whole other thing. But the dude turns the temperature down to -40. They're in this thing for at least 5 minutes, if not longer. And they seem fine. Like they don't even seem like they're shivering at all. But okay, fine. Maybe they just have really thick skin. I don't know. But then she blows this thing up. Samuel L. is strapped into a chair. I thought he was in a different building, but apparently they're like a few floors up. He gets blown out of the building
Out of the
through
window.
the sign
A
that is
tree.
in the parking lot and flies into a tree, but somehow is still okay to get up, grab a gun, and shoot a dude who's coming after him. That was badass, but also ridiculous.
I don't know
There
if
was
you all...
a lot of flying humans in this movie.
There are.
Like people just fly through all sorts of crap.
That's true.
The other, and this might be going into nitpicks because I already brought up another pet peeve of mine, but the old trope of like the bad guys just not just shoot them. Like you're shooting and killing everyone else, but your
Yeah.
two big people that you're after, let's lock them up.
Don't you understand, Travis? That God is on the good side of the good people. And so he comes into play.
Another nitpick is
You just ignore me. I love that.
Who, me?
Sorry, go. Yeah.
well, you know, mine's more important, whatever. That in every single action movie, there is a scene where the protagonist is like sneaking around, trying to get in wherever. One of the bad guys checks in, everything all clear here, and then they get killed. Every single action movie. Like, what if the guy hasn't checked in? Then you're gonna like the guy, you kill the guy, but he hasn't checked in. But very conveniently, he's checked in right before you kill him. You just happen to be there right when he checks in and says, "All clear here." That
Listeners
happened in
and
this
viewers out
movie.
there, comment down below if you know what Brian was just talking about. Because Kai and I
Okay,
have no
so-
idea
Okay,
what Brian
know
is
what-
talking about.
you know when you're watching a movie, you've got the bad
Explain that whole
guys.
thing, and I was like, what the fuck?
Like, what is Brian talking
Okay.
about?
You had the
You know what?
same...
You've got the bad guy.
Well, first I was like, what part of the movie was that? Second of all, I was like, wait, what part of any movie is that?
Okay, when they're at the
Third of all,
compound,
is he speaking English?
and
Yeah.
he's and
Fourth
she's
of all,
trying to
am
go.
I high?
I hate you both so much right now. At the end, or like toward the end, when she's going, and she's like, "Samuel, L., cover me," and she goes in to get the daughter back, and then they turn all the floodlights on. Remember that scene, like toward the end, before she gets locked up in the
Yeah.
freezer. So
Yeah.
you know how like whenever there's a bad guy and all the foot soldiers, the bad guy's always like, "You check in this quadrant." Alpha team, check in. And so then the bad guy checks in. He says, all clear. And then Gina Davis comes in and kills him. I'm saying that always happens. It's always very convenient timing that they always happen to check in and say, our area is clear. And then they're dead.
Of course, because that's exciting.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, back to technical.
I feel like that was like 10 minutes we could just cut out of this podcast.
I liked the score.
Oh my gosh.
I didn't even notice it, honestly.
Let me.
Kai.
It was cheesy, fun 90s. I
Cheesy
thought
is like
the
being nice to
sound
it.
mix was terrible, though.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
My TV was like, what do I do with this?
I had to like I had to like hold it all the way up when people were
Yeah.
talking, and then I hold it all the way down. And
Yeah.
when a car door got opened,
Yeah.
it was like it wasn't even the action sequence. It's like them getting in a car and the car door slammed, and it's
Yeah.
like a building exploded.
They didn't
The
expect
score.
that. Yeah, go ahead.
It was so bad. Kai. Cheesy is being nice to it.
Cheesy is being nice
the
to it.
scene where, and sorry, no offense to whoever's the scorist, whoever the composer was.
I like scorist. We're gonna call it that from now on.
Yeah, the scene where the one-eyed guy is in his cell,
That was the cheesiest moment of the
and
movie.
he gets up to look at the TV.
Oh, yeah.
He
Yeah.
he gets up to look at the TV, and then the score is just like this guitar riff that's like,
yeah.
and I'm like, oh, okay, this is gonna be like this guy's like motif. Like every single time we see him,
Yeah, right.
it's gonna be like, but then he
we don't
dies the
see
next
him
scene.
very much. Yeah, exactly.
Which, talk about a poor plan. Like, you're a trained killer, and you're just gonna no stealth or anything. I'm just gonna go up behind this choir and shoot this woman in the
Yes.
face, and then also die.
Okay, here's my pet peeve. I know that, or nitpick. God, why do I do every time?
But I think technical and nitpicks are the same for this movie.
Great. So my nitpick.
We
though,
are including nitpicks on this section because I feel like most of our complaints will be technical.
Although my nitpick is a plot thing. It was just something I realized as we were talking about this, that because I was thinking about that guy, and we see him later when they're sort of showing us how she killed him, and
on like the cliffside.
on the cliff.
Yeah.
And then she flies off the cliff because in her voiceover in the beginning she says, I woke up on a beach 8 years ago, blah blah blah. Okay. So
She survives
goes
that,
to the
yeah.
hotel with Samuel L. Jackson. This is before she has before Charlie has totally come
Before
back
she
to her,
randomly
before
somehow
she-
finds a false bottom in her suitcase with a
in
bunch
her
of guns in it.
suitcase. And I'm going, where did that suitcase come from if you just woke up on the beach?
Yeah.
You didn't have your suitcase with you.
Oh
Yeah.
shoot! I didn't even think
Huge
about that.
plot
Yeah.
fuck up.
I
Yeah.
didn't think about that because I was more so thinking like, how did you not tell that the suitcase was so heavy?
Yeah.
Which
You're
I didn't
like,
think
why?
about.
Yeah, I'm going on this road trip really quickly. Let me pick my heaviest suitcase. I don't know why it's heavy. It's empty,
Well,
but
maybe
it's
they
super
were
heavy.
all full of guns, so she was just like, "This is just what suitcases feel
Or maybe
like."
she's just so strong she doesn't feel heaviness.
It's that. Thank you, Brian, because she's a badass, muscular action star woman model lady. Get
Fucking
it?
A right.
Sure. Sure. And also, her kid never found any of the guns that were
No,
hidden.
ever, never,
Ever.
Nope.
Well, she was young and dumb.
Okay, do we have any other nitpicks?
I got nothing.
The wide shot of the jail before they go to where he's in his prison cell.
The wide shot of all the things, like the White House and all of that. I bet you they threw those in after, again, like after they did the test run.
Those
of
were all
the
Shutterstock
movie,
stock
and people were
footage that
like,
they
"We do
found."
not understand."
Yeah, it had the
anything."
watermark on it
Yeah.
still.
Yeah, they couldn't even pay for it. They just downloaded it.
This'll do. It's like the 480p like
Yeah.
sample version.
Or like it's always got like like Pond 5. It's got like the logo right across the middle of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
So that shot was really bad. The lighting change in when they're in the old bomb, the 1950s car. Also, where are they getting all the cars from? I'm like, I guess maybe you're like boosting
They're
them.
just boosting
They're
them.
stealing them, I think.
That's just the assumption we
That's the
make.
other thing. She's
We
going
never see
around
her do
leaving
that.
this huge, like, she's not a very stealthy
No, and
secret
there
agent.
are no cops.
Yeah.
Not one local police officer. Especially, like, let's be real. This is set in America. Samuel L. Jackson is black. She's a woman.
Yeah.
Not one police officer stopping them anywhere, being like, what the fuck? Well, there is one moment where. Wait, there is one moment.
I
in
thought
the
cops
movie.
show up when the one-eyed guy tries to kill her. I thought when Samuel gets there, I thought there were also cops there at the
That's
same
right.
time.
That's the
Yeah.
only part.
And-
And they make that little reference of like the little girl is like, don't shoot him to
Yeah.
about Samuel
Yeah.
Jackson. Yeah.
That's the other thing. They live in this small town, right? Small town America in
New
the
York.
Northeast somewhere. There's probably not a whole lot of crime there. It seems like, right? It seems like this suburban small town doesn't have a lot of crime. In 1 week, you have a dude showing up to someone's house with a shotgun who gets brutally murdered in a kitchen.
Yeah.
And then like 3 days later, you have this abandoned car on the frozen lake with 3 people shot in the head. And this little town's not like going insane or like
no.
they don't request like the National Guard to like watch the streets or something. They're
No.
just like,
Yeah,
Just-
they're just out doing their
just a
own
normal
Christmas
day.
carols, and she goes ice skating and
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. That
Yeah.
I was like, it's 2 days before Christmas, and little girl and the fiance are just at the church they're not like, where the hell did she disappear to?
yeah.
And here's another question. So the one-eyed guy shows up because he's basically holding the carolers hostage. But
He was?
Yeah, he was behind them with the gun.
I thought he was just hiding behind them. Like,
No, he had-
that's
he
what I was
had-
like. This plan is so
terrified.
stupid. He's really
Yeah,
just
he was
hiding
holding
behind
the
them.
gun.
No, he's holding them hostage.
No,
Because
I
they're
knew
all
he was holding
singing,
the gun.
but
I
they're
just
like
didn't know.
making those weird faces.
why didn't he
At
just
first, I was like, what is
knock?
wrong with all of these carolers? What?
Why didn't he just
Yeah,
knock
like,
on
if
the
you're gonna-
door or something?
If you're
Why-
not going to be that stealthy to begin with,
Yeah.
why not just?
Because
If anything, you're showing everyone your face.
she would have
Yeah.
instantly thought, wait, let's go back even before that. They just say this guy broke out of prison.
Yeah, they don't show it or anything. It's
But
just
also how? Nobody
Yeah.
just breaks out of prison.
Have you ever seen Shawshank?
And if he could that
It took him
easily,
years.
well, yeah. And if he could that
you don't know how
easily,
much
why
time's
hadn't
passed.
he done it before?
yeah. He should have had the line of like, "Oh, there she is. She's still alive. Good thing I've been planning for 4 years now to get out of this prison."
Or the like guitar riff should have come in when he turned into essentially the Hulk and punched his way through the wall.
That would have been
Right?
entertaining.
But knowing this movie, that would have happened, and then another fist would have come through another part of the wall, and then it would have been Gina Davis, like, whoa! And then we'd be like, how'd she get there? I don't know.
And she'd have incredibly dark eye makeup on. Because
Yeah.
we all know that if you're a female and you're a badass, you have
True.
to have thick eyeliner.
And
Let me
apparently
just
blonde
say,
hair.
shout
Yeah, you
out
definitely have
makeup
to
artist.
dye your hair too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
of
has
course.
to be blonde,
It
too.
has to be my
Mm.
haircut. I did
Yeah.
notice that. I was like, ooh, if I slicked my shit back, I could be Charlie. Everybody, I could
Okay.
be Charlie.
Um,
Costumes, great. I will say the costumes on point. Gina Davis, when she's playing mommy, Samantha has like so many good Christmas hats. I cannot tell you. There's one that's like, I think it's the one she's wearing when they're ice skating. It's like this long red velvety like elf-like thing. Anywho, just because we didn't talk about that in technical, so I thought I'd.
Yeah.
Okay.
the other thing, the lighting changed constantly. That's what I was trying to say when they
Oh
were in the
my
1950s.
God.
When they were in the 1950s car. Like there's literally there's the wide shot or medium shot where they're in front of the car where they're driving. He's in the passenger seat, she's driving. And then it cuts to like a side close up and it's like nighttime. And
I don't even remember
like
that
it's
scene.
legitimately nighttime. And like
know
you
what you're
see
talking about,
you
yeah.
see like the reflection of like the street lights like going over her face.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to the white and it's daytime.
That like Well, it started for me. The lighting was just terrible all the way through. But it started for me when we first see them, the car crash, and they're driving, and then the car crashes, and it's like bright lights. I literally wrote down, "Is it morning? Like, was she taking him home in the morning?" But it was clearly supposed to be the night of the party.
The light
but
of
then
the
it was
stars
like,
was reflecting off the snow. And it was
it was a
brightening
full moon
everything
that
up.
evening. It was a full moon.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's pretty much it. If you want to watch a Shane Black written movie that's better, you could watch Kiss Kiss Bang Bang or any of the Lethal Weapons.
Yeah, Lethal Weapon.
And
what's up.
that's
And The Last
that's
Action
the
Hero.
crux. That's the crux of why I think it's a bad good, because Shane Black has written so many other good scripts that I think are better
So you
and like not as
wonder
confusing.
how or what was cut out of this
Yeah,
movie?
yeah,
what
true.
was
Yeah,
the
true.
script
Or is
versus
editing
what did
or
it become
directing
once
or,
it
you know.
was
True.
fully produced?
Mm-hmm.
By what studio?
But I
Who
do
did this
still
movie?
feel like you get the Shane blackness of the dialogue and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
And
Which,
that's why
that
it's
was my
so-
favorite
it's
part
so-
of the movie was
But
the
it's so
dialogue.
cut tonally that like I think he does a good job of keeping it.
Merging it,
Yeah, like making it not be this
having
tonal.
a seamless
Yeah.
tone.
Did you guys know that on The Tonight Show in 2019, Samuel L. Jackson said that this was his favorite role?
Hell yeah, it was. Because he got to play the fun-loving dad character.
How do you love
and
this
he
more
had
than like
badass
Pulp
outfits.
Fiction or
Yeah.
fucking Snakes
'Cause
on
it
a
was
Plane
such
or
a fun movie.
Or even Deep Blue Sea.
Deep Blue
But
Sea? He got eaten by a shark.
Also, just
Or
they
Goodfellas.
They were trying to make a Long Kiss Goodnight 2. They pitched it where it was
Interesting.
going to be Samuel L. Jackson. Gina Davis wasn't going to be in it, but it was going to be Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis's kid and like her
really?
story as she had grown up to be this badass.
I don't know how I would
And that
feel
little-
about that.
That little girl, oh shoot, I can't
She was
remember her
just
name.
in Paul
She
T.
was in
Goldman.
Paul T. Goldman. I told you
Yes,
that.
yeah. She right, and she also has a sister who's an actress who's been in a lot of things. She was the main young girl in Californication. If you guys watched that show,
She
Wait,
looks
which
so
young
much
girl?
familiar.
Duchovny's daughter?
yeah,
Oh shit. Okay.
or
The sister though,
no,
not
no,
the
no,
girl
no,
that
no.
was in this.
no, not Duchovny's daughter, Duchovny's stepdaughter,
But
or,
her sister, not the girl that was in this movie.
right.
Brian.
Yeah.
yeah,
I know what you're saying. Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
She looks so much more familiar than like the kid looked familiar.
Yeah.
And then I looked at
Agreed.
her filmography and I'm like, I don't know her from anything.
But she looks a lot like her sister, and I knew her sister from a lot of stuff. So I wondered if,
that
like,
could
when
be.
they were little kids, they looked a lot alike too.
Thank you for
No, it's
listening
not.
this week. Oh wait, no. Have we changed any of our minds?
Nope.
Okay, great. Cool. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Good, Bad, Bad, Good. Join us next week when we watch Dinner for Schmucks.
Schmuckity, schmuck. I've never seen this one, so that's
I've only seen it
exciting.
once. Brian, have you seen it?
Yeah. Once for sure, maybe twice.
So
yeah, I
listeners
don't
out there, watch this with me this week
Yeah.
because I haven't seen it.
And it's
We'll do
also
it together.
one, maybe our first comedy?
No.
No, is it?
Have we done a
No,
comedy?
yeah, we did. I just blacked the movie out of my head because I started the episode by saying "fuck you, Judd Apatow," and then felt really
Oh, the
bad about it
bubble.
'cause I love
Oh,
Judd
bubble.
Apatow.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay. Well, tune in next week when we watch Dinner for Schmucks. You could, if you want to
Schmuck
follow
me,
any of
schmuck,
us,
schmuck. Why
or
do I
if you want
feel
to
like I
follow
need
the
to say that?
podcasts, you could like and subscribe here on YouTube, or you could follow us on all social media at goodbad_badgood. You could follow me on all social media at Travis_Orozco. You could follow Brian at
Bossip on Instagram. Also, you shouldn't just subscribe on YouTube. You should subscribe on Apple Pods, Spotify, Stitcher, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Yep. Kai, come on. It's
So
your turn.
just look me up on IMDb, you know. Shout out to the page
Oh,
meter.
yeah, just Google me, bitch.
Just like Google me. Could you just
Yeah.
giggle me?
Just Google Bossip and you'll find me.
Good, Bad, Bad, Good is an ex nihilo production.
Original theme music and sound engineering done by Jen Star Hacker. Find her at hackersoundmusic.com. Opinions expressed are solely that of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views of any entity they represent.